So first week back at the Lords after the political party recess, and the first week back after the Battle of Ideas, and I can assure you, having spoken at fringe meetings at party conferences, the Battle of Ideas was the place where political life came to life. Anyway, less of that for now. I'm back in the Lords and a few stories to tell you. The first one, and maybe to explain how things operate, was that I noticed that Gisela Stuart and Lord Walney, whose name I can't remember the first name of, were not sitting on our benches. They were over at the crossbench side, which is opposite where some of us sit behind the Labour peers. And a number of people asked me if I was going to join the crossbenches. You have to apply to join, and I kind of assumed I'd be a crossbench peer when I went in, but they've become something of an annoyance to me because they really do consider themselves above everybody else, and it's full of law lords and very worthy people. And as much as I'm a very great fan of Walney and Gisela Stuart, Kate Hoey and I have decided to stay a bit rabble-rousing, non-affiliated, sitting at the back benches behind the Labour Party, even if they don't like it. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because maybe I will change my mind, because you do have the advantage of getting help and support, which we don't have as independents, but there we go. The other thing is that I still haven't done the Jumpy Uppy Downy, as we have come to know it, but I've watched it, and it's quite intimidating because people do jump up and everybody speaks at once, and I haven't yet worked out how it is that you kind of become the person who speaks. And I did watch the frustration of Kate Hoey and Daniel Moylan yesterday when Lord Frost did his report on the Northern Irish Protocol and his negotiations with the EU, and they both jumped up and down lots to try and get in and didn't get in. So I think it's going to take some doing to learn that system. I only put myself down to do one speech this week, and that was on journalism. There's a report out on the state of journalism, and I felt it was a good opportunity for me to talk about the dangers posed to free speech by the online safety bill, which is likely to be coming up in the Parliament in the next few months. So I was kind of, a bit anxious because I haven't done one of those formal speeches. I had 5 minutes, and I was reading all about it in the tea room and thinking about what I'd say. And just as I was doing that, in came Lord Fowler with a young chap. The place is packed out, by the way. Everyone's got visitors in, so if you want to visit me, now's the time to let me know. But anyway, he came in with this young chap, and they sat down, and they started talking about the Sunday Times and Tim Shipley. And then I realised that the young chap was a journalist who was interviewing Norman Fowler, and it was all off the record. But they sat next to me and I could hear them. This is the story. And so it was marginally interesting. I'm reading about journalism. There's somebody doing an off-the-record briefing to a journalist. How fascinating. And within a few minutes, I noticed I heard suddenly the words Claire Fox come out of the journalist's mouth as he was saying, "How do you feel, Lord Fowler, about the disreputable appointment of Claire Fox and Lebedev?" And I couldn't hear what Lord Fowler said. I think it's possible that he noticed that I was within earshot, but I also think he wanted to make broader points. In fact, he kept saying, "I want to make broader points about the size of the house and all this." And it was kind of weird because, so of course I was mortified and embarrassed and like thinking, I wish they weren't talking about me. Anyway, my name came up twice after that in the course of this conversation. The journalist really pushing it, and as I say, as far as I know, Lord Fowler didn't particularly condemn me, although he condemned the appointment system. So it made me feel, annoyed that I was there reading about journalism and about to defend journalism, and then there was a journalism dobbing me in only 2 feet away. So Lord Fowler went up to pay, and I looked over, caught the journalist's eye, and for no apparent reason, I said the following. I said, "I'm Claire Fox, by the way." He went bright red. I said, "I'm sitting here reading a report about journalism, and I'm about to defend journalism and free press, even when it's muckraking." He went redder. And I said, I will even defend your right to come and, muckrake over me here. But I would like to suggest that it's possible that the skills of investigative journalism need to be improved, because my advice to you, I said to journalist, is that if you're going to slag somebody off, that you look round and find out if they're sitting 2 feet away from you. Anyway, that was it. I was like a fishwife. I felt really good. I was shaking. He went bright red. Lord Fowler came back none the wiser and took him off. Anyway, that was an exciting thing to have happened in the Lords this week. In the journalism debate, and this is where you realise you're in an extraordinary place, I arrived in, it was in one of the small chambers that I've not been in before, now that everything's back to normal, the Moses room. So it's quite intimidating. And then I looked at the list, and they're just all lords and baronesses, I don't know. But as they proceeded, I realised that almost all of them had been, I don't know, editors of newspapers, or they were in charge of the press complaints commission, or they were in charge of the advertising stand, even now as lords. In fact, everybody there seemed to be one more prestigious journalist after another, and he thought, this isn't your normal debate. So again, it's a reminder that even though things can look like it's just a group of people having a chat, actually these are people of power, real power. But I did enjoy making my contribution, having a go about the online safety bill, because for all the worthy commitments of free press, they're about to bring in a piece of legislation that's going to damage irreparably the press, and is going to give a huge amount of power to big tech. And I think it's very important to kind of, as it were, speak truth to power. But I also want to note that there were two other baronesses in there, one who I know and one who I don't, who made fantastic pro-free speech speeches. And one of the reasons why it's always worth going along to these discussions is because you can identify allies, and I don't want anyone to think it's just me, or that I'm singing my own praises, because there are always people who say extraordinarily interesting things in amongst all the people that absolutely tire you out with their nonsense. By the way, it's the one place in the world where I've heard people say, bring back Leveson, lots and lots and lots. In fact, the Lords is exactly the kind of place that committed to stopping press freedom. That was interesting. The only other thing was there was a fantastic contribution from a gentleman called Lord Jones. It didn't really make any sense in relation to the report. It was kind of a hymn to liberty. Somebody said to me afterwards, more like a poem. And I sort of vaguely thought I recognised him. And then I remembered that this was Barry Jones, who was my MP when I was growing up. And I think I thought he was dead. Anyway, there he was doing this wonderful speech, and it was really nice because he gave me a wink and said it's always good to have Buckley in the room. So that was a very nice way of making me feel some connection with my former life. I'm getting all ready for next week when the police and crime bill will be coming up. It's a very heavy bill full of everything, and I'm still prepared to defend the right to protest despite the absolute nuisance that Insulate Britain have caused. And I heard a distressing thing, and this will show you what the unintended consequences are, and you have to watch yourself. A number of lords who are going to oppose the ban on protest as part of that bill have changed their minds because of the actions of Insulate Britain, and are now saying, well, I can't be seen under any circumstances to be backing them. That'll just show you where we are in relation to how you have to be careful. And Insulate Britain are not protesting, they are actually acting in an anti-democratic way that's just there to disturb and destroy the livelihoods of ordinary people in order to bully them to go along with environmentalism. But it did make me realise that you do have to be careful what tactics you choose, because I do think that they have done their own cause a lot of harm. But I, on principle, will be arguing in defence of the right to protest, and a lot more before then. So yeah, see you next week.